Bailey started seizing at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. My daughter Mia was doing homework at the kitchen table when the golden retriever collapsed beside her chair, legs jerking, foam coming from his mouth. Mia's scream brought me running from the laundry room. She was already on the floor with Bailey, her hands shaking as she tried to hold him steady. At 11 years old, Mia had learned not to panic during her own medical episodes, but this was different. Bailey wasn't just her pet, he was her lifeline. "Mom, something's wrong. Something's really wrong." I grabbed my phone and called the emergency vet while pulling Mia back from Bailey's thrashing body. 24-hour Animal Medical Center. "We're coming now." Golden Retriever, service animal, active seizure. The seizure lasted 90 seconds. When it stopped, Bailey lay still, his breathing shallow and rapid. His gums were pale, almost white. I scooped up all 65 pounds of him and carried him to the car. Mia climbed in back, her hands on Bailey's head, tears streaming down her face. "He's going to be okay, right, Mom? Tell me he's going to be okay." I couldn't promise that. Bailey was 8 years old, had been Mia's diabetic alert dog since she was 6. He'd saved her life 14 times by detecting blood sugar drops before they became critical. Without him, Mia's type 1 diabetes became exponentially more dangerous. The emergency vet took Bailey immediately. Dr. Patricia Vance, the lead veterinarian, did a rapid assessment while I filled out paperwork with trembling hands. "When did symptoms start?" Dr. Vance asked. "Today." "This afternoon." "He was fine this morning." "Any possibility of toxin exposure? Household chemicals, medications, plants?" "No. He's a service dog. He doesn't eat anything except his food. He's trained not to." "What about visitors? Anyone in your home today?" I froze. My sister. She came by around noon. She was alone in the kitchen while I was helping Mia with her insulin pump. Dr. Vance's expression sharpened. "How long was she alone?" "Maybe 10 minutes. We're running full toxicology. His symptoms suggest poisoning, but I need to know what we're treating." I called my sister Victoria from the waiting room. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice irritated. "What?" "Bailey's in emergency surgery. Did you give him anything today? Any food, treats, anything?" "Why would I do that?" "Victoria, this is serious. Did you feed him anything? Maybe some lunch meat?" He was begging. "So what?" My stomach dropped. "What kind of lunch meat?" "I don't know." "Turkey." "Why are you freaking out?" "Because he's dying. The vet thinks he was poisoned." Silence. Then, "Are you seriously accusing me of poisoning your dog?" "I'm asking what you gave him." "It was just a sick dog." "Jesus, you're so dramatic." I heard her talking to someone in the background. "No, she's saying I poisoned her precious service dog." "Can you believe this?" "Victoria, you know what? I'm done. You've been treating me like garbage since Dad's will, and now you're making up insane accusations. Don't call me again." She hung up. I sat in the plastic waiting room chair, my hands clenched around my phone. Dad's will. That's what this was about. Our father had died 4 months ago, a massive heart attack at 63. In his will, he'd left Victoria $50,000 and me the family business, a small veterinary supply company he'd built over 30 years. Victoria had been furious. She'd expected to inherit the business herself, despite having no interest in veterinary medicine and no experience running a company. She demanded I split everything equally. When I refused, pointing out that Dad's will was clear, and that I'd been working in the business for 15 years, she'd stopped speaking to me. Until 2 weeks ago, when she'd called crying. She needed money. Her husband had left, her rent was overdue, she was desperate. Could I give her an advance on Dad's estate? I'd said no. The business was struggling. I couldn't afford to give away $50,000 I didn't have yet. The probate process wasn't even complete. She'd screamed at me, called me selfish, said I'd stolen her inheritance. Today was the first time I'd seen her since that call. She'd shown up at my door with apologies, saying she wanted to make things right. I'd been foolish enough to believe her. Dr. Vance found me 2 hours later. Her scrubs were stained, her face grim. "Bailey's stable but critical. We've got him on IV fluids and activated charcoal." The toxicology panel will take 48 hours for full results, but the preliminary test showed ethylene glycol in his system. Antifreeze. Yes. It's one of the most common pet poisonings, and one of the deadliest. The sweet taste attracts animals. Even a small amount is fatal if not treated immediately. But I don't have antifreeze. I don't even have a car that leaks. I stopped. Victoria's car. She mentioned having radiator problems last month. Dr. Vance's jaw tightened. If someone deliberately gave your dog antifreeze-contaminated food, that's criminal animal cruelty. I'm required by law to report suspected intentional poisoning. She's my sister. She potentially murdered your daughter's medical alert dog. That's not just animal cruelty. Interfering with a service animal is a federal crime. I thought of Mia in the hospital waiting room, her continuous glucose monitor beeping alerts that Bailey usually caught 20 minutes before the device. I thought of the 14 times Bailey had woken us in the middle of the night when Mia's blood sugar had dropped to dangerous levels. File the report, I said. All of it. Bailey survived the first night, and the second. By day 3, he was weak but conscious. Mia sat beside his recovery kennel for hours, talking to him through the bars. The toxicology report came back on day 4. Dr. Vance called me into her office. The full panel confirms ethylene glycol poisoning. But there's more. She slid a paper across her desk. The concentration in Bailey's system suggests he ingested at least 4 ounces of pure antifreeze. That's not accidental contamination. That's deliberate. What does that mean legally? I forwarded everything to the State Veterinary Board and the District Attorney's Animal Cruelty Division. They'll determine if charges are warranted. She paused. There's something else you should know. I ran Bailey's case by my colleagues at the Veterinary Forensics Lab. They want to test the lunch meat samples we saved from Bailey's stomach contents. Why? Because if your sister soaked meat in antifreeze and fed it to a service animal, that's premeditated felony animal cruelty. The forensics team works with prosecutors across 6 states. They're very interested in this case. Victoria called that evening. The police came to my apartment. They're saying I poisoned your dog. Did you? It was an accident. I didn't know dogs couldn't eat antifreeze. My blood ran cold. You're admitting you gave him antifreeze? No. I mean my car was leaking. Maybe some got on the turkey. I didn't do it on purpose. You soaked lunch meat in antifreeze and fed it to my daughter's service dog. I didn't soak anything. You're twisting my words. She was crying now. Why are you doing this? I'm your sister. Family is supposed to protect each other. You tried to kill Bailey to punish me. Because of Dad's will. That's not. I would never. The toxicology report says Bailey ingested 4 ounces of pure antifreeze. That's not contamination. That's intentional. Silence. Victoria, you could have killed Mia. If Bailey dies, she loses her medical alert system. Do you understand that? She could die in her sleep from hypoglycemia. I didn't think about that. You didn't think about anything except hurting me. She hung up. The forensics results came back 2 weeks later. The meat samples from Bailey's stomach showed deliberate antifreeze saturation. Someone had soaked turkey slices in radiator fluid and fed them to him. The district attorney filed charges: felony animal cruelty, interference with a service animal, and reckless endangerment of a minor. That last charge came because poisoning Mia's diabetic alert dog put her life at risk. My mother called the day after Victoria was arrested. How could you do this to your sister? She made a mistake. She tried to kill Bailey, Mom. Mia's medical alert dog. It was an accident. She told me the forensics prove it wasn't. She soaked meat in antifreeze and deliberately fed it to him. You're tearing this family apart over a dog. Over Mia's life-saving medical equipment. That's what Bailey is. He's not a pet. Your father would be ashamed of you. That hit hard. But I thought about Dad teaching me the veterinary supply business. Teaching me to value animal welfare. Teaching me that cruelty should never be tolerated. Dad left me the business because he knew I'd protect it. Protect the animals it serves. He'd understand. Mom hung up. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks out. My attorney David Reese met with me beforehand. The prosecution is strong. We have forensic evidence, veterinary testimony, service animal federal protection violations. Your sister is looking at 3 to 5 years. Will Mia have to testify? Probably. The prosecution wants to establish the impact of Bailey's poisoning on her medical safety. I hated that. Hated that Mia would have to relive this in court. But she deserved justice. Bailey deserved justice. There's something else, David said. During discovery, we learned your sister has been making statements to family members and on social media. She's been claiming you fabricated the poisoning to steal her inheritance. That's insane. It's also defamation. And it gets worse. She's been contacting your business clients, telling them you're unstable and that they should switch suppliers. She's trying to destroy the business. Yes. Which gives us grounds for a civil lawsuit in addition to the criminal case. But there's a complication. He pulled out a document. Do you know what Riverside Veterinary Alliance is? That's the industry association. I'm a member. Why? You're not just a member. According to their records, you've been on the board of directors for 3 years. You're currently the vice president of their ethics committee. I'd forgotten about that. The position was mostly ceremonial. Reviewing complaints, setting industry standards. I attended quarterly meetings but didn't think much about the title. The prosecution discovered this during their investigation. David continued. Your sister has been trying to ruin your professional reputation, while you literally sit on the ethics board of the largest veterinary supply association in the region. How does that affect the case? It means her defamation campaign targeted someone in a position of professional authority. It also means the Riverside Veterinary Alliance has taken an interest. They've filed an amicus brief supporting the prosecution. They want to make an example of service animal interference cases. The hearing was brief. Victoria's attorney tried to argue accidental poisoning, but the forensics were irrefutable. The judge bound her over for trial. Outside the courthouse, a woman approached me, Dr. Margaret Holloway, president of the Riverside Veterinary Alliance. I wanted to speak with you personally. The board is horrified by what happened to Bailey. We're prepared to offer whatever support you need. Financial, legal, professional. I appreciate that. We're also recommending you for the board's humanitarian award. Your dedication to animal welfare, even when the abuser was family, exemplifies everything we stand for. I didn't know what to say. The award was prestigious, came with a $25,000 grant for animal welfare initiatives. There's one more thing, Dr. Holloway said. Your father's company, Peterson Veterinary Supply. We'd like to make it our preferred vendor for the entire Alliance network. That's over 300 veterinary clinics across 4 states. The business deal Dad had always dreamed of. The one that would secure the company's future permanently. I don't want special treatment because of what happened. This isn't special treatment. We've been reviewing suppliers for months. Your company has excellent products, fair prices, and now we know the ethics behind it. Your father built something worth preserving. Bailey came home after 3 weeks. He'd lost weight and moved slowly, but the vet said he'd make a full recovery. Mia cried when we brought him through the door. The trial was set for 4 months out. Victoria's attorney was pushing for a plea deal, probation and restitution. The prosecution wanted prison time. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. Justice, yes. But my sister would have a felony record. My niece and nephew would grow up knowing their mother tried to kill a dog out of jealousy. David called 2 days before the plea hearing. Victoria's attorney made an offer. She'll plead guilty to all charges, except 3 years supervised probation, pay full restitution for Bailey's medical care, and stay away from you and your family permanently. In exchange, the prosecution drops the prison recommendation. What's the restitution amount? $63,000. Bailey's emergency treatment, ongoing care, and replacement training costs if needed. More than the inheritance she'd been fighting over. She'll never pay that. She'll have to. It'll be a court order. If she doesn't pay, she violates probation and goes to prison. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about Mia, about Bailey, about Dad's business thriving, about family that chose cruelty over compassion. Accept the deal, I said. But add one more condition. She has to publicly admit what she did. Social media, written statement, full accountability. The prosecution will agree to that. Victoria's statement appeared 3 days later. A single paragraph on Facebook. I deliberately poisoned my sister's service dog by feeding him antifreeze-soaked meat. I did this to hurt her because I was angry about our father's will. I almost killed an innocent animal and endangered my niece's life. I accept full responsibility and the legal consequences of my actions. 47 comments appeared within an hour. Most were horrified. Some were from family members defending her, but many more condemned her actions. My phone rang. My mother. Are you happy now? You've humiliated your sister publicly. She humiliated herself. I just wanted the truth. This family is broken because of you. This family was broken the moment Victoria chose revenge over Mia's safety. I'm just the one who refused to pretend otherwise. I hung up and blocked her number. 6 months later, Bailey was fully recovered. The Riverside Veterinary Alliance contract had tripled my business revenue. The humanitarian award funded a service animal protection program in Dad's name. Victoria made her first restitution payment, $500. She had $62,500 left to pay, at $500 per month. It would take her 10 years. Mia's diabetes was stable. Bailey still alerted to her blood sugar drops with perfect accuracy. He slept beside her bed every night, exactly where he belonged. I never spoke to Victoria again. Or my mother. Some family bonds, once poisoned, can't be healed. But the family I'd chosen, Mia Bailey, the business Dad had trusted me with, was thriving. And that was enough.